there, friends. Today, we have a special episode of Super Tony's Adventures. Enjoy! Tony, you believe you're a superhero because you can do a burp snort. Sometimes I'm ashamed of you, Tony. Today, I'm gonna tell you about real people with true superpowers. Take, for example, Veronica Cedar. In 1972, she revealed that she could see small objects at a distance of up to 1.5 kilometers. At first, no one believed her, but it's very easy to test another person's vision. It turns out that she was telling the truth, and she has this unique ability. She even was listed in the Guinness Book of Records for having a visual acuity 20 times better than the average human being. But it gets better, so keep watching. Meet Daniel Kish. When he was a child, he suffered from retinoblastoma, a rare form of cancer that affects the eyes. As a result, he had both eyes removed before his first birthday. With time, Kish developed his own echolocation method to move around. It works just like the echolocation system of bats. He started by making clicking sounds with his tongue and learning that each surface reacts differently to the sound. After listening to the echo of the clicking sounds, Daniel could build a 3D map of the objects around him in his head. Daniel claims he can find a way out from a dark room faster than an average person. Now meet the real Mr. Freeze. His name is Wim Hof. When he was 17 years old, he was walking on an icy river in Amsterdam, where he is from. Suddenly, he felt the urge to jump into the water, and he did so. It was then that he discovered that he has a superpower. He can withstand really low temperatures. As of today, he has set 26 world records. He even tried to climb Mount Everest wearing shorts. He got to the death zone with no problems, but was forced to return. Not because of the temperature, but because he hurt his leg. Researchers discovered that Wim Hof can repress the reaction of his brain to low temperatures using respiratory exercises and meditation. But they don't really know how Hof's body fights against frostbite. And of course, I have to tell you about the real-life Spider-Man. Alan Robert is one of the best climbers in the world. He's famous for climbing different skyscrapers solo, without any kind of equipment or protection. The only thing he carries with him is a bag of chalk. He has climbed famous buildings like the Empire State Building, the Eiffel Tower, the Burj Khalifa, Moscow State University, and more. He has conquered more than 160 skyscrapers. Most often than not, he has no permit, so he has been arrested several times. In October 2018, he appeared in court in London and the law forbid him to climb any building in the UK. Now, would you like to learn about Invincible People? They exist, you know. Here's a whole family from the US, which has been studied by geneticists because their bones are really dense. Just like in the film Unbreakable, their bones never break, even if they are really badly hurt. Scientists conducted tests on 20 members of the family, and half of them had incredibly resistant bones. Studying their DNA could help find new methods to cure osteoporosis, a disease that makes bones weaker and more fragile. Tony, what if I tell you that there's an invisible woman in the world? But not literally, of course. The thing is that Cheryl Maynard was born without fingerprints. There are only a couple of dozens of people like her in the world. As you know, we all have a set of unique fingerprints, which can be used to tell each of us apart. But Cheryl suffers from a condition known as a dermatoglyphia, so she was born without fingerprints and is basically invisible. Although this is not entirely true, because there are voice and face recognition systems. And finally, let's meet Mary Lou Henner. She has a superhuman memory and can remember the month, the day, and the time of any event in her life. She can also remember what she saw on the news and what happened to other people. There are less than 100 people in the world like her. You might think it's a great ability that would make life easier, but these people usually suffer from anxiety and depression. Hey Tony, have you ever wondered how exactly snake venom affects the human body? Well, I happen to have a couple of vipers and cobras lying around. We'll let them bite you and see exactly how the venom kills people. Let's begin. Let's start by saying that venomous snakes are not bloodthirsty killers at all. They never attack humans or large animals for no reason. It happens purely out of self-defense. For example, if someone steps on them or gets too close to their hideout. Most often they bite the feet or the muzzle of those who are particularly curious. Let's start the experiment with the vipers. Release the Kraken. I've always wanted to say that. Well, it's done. The place of the bite swells and turns red quickly, and Tony starts feeling an unbearable pain. In general, there are two kinds of snake venom. The first spreads through the blood system, gradually destroying the vital organs and tissues of the body. The second acts on the nervous system, making the lungs stop working and causing death from suffocation in just a few hours. Viper venom belongs to the first type and acts mainly on the blood circulatory system, causing hemorrhages. It severely affects the muscles and some other tissues of the body. Snake venom changes the composition of the blood and kills white blood cells. White blood cells protect the body from pathogenic germs, but they cannot cope with the action of the venom. So when germs start to multiply on the wound, which won't heal and may even get infected with gangrene. Likewise, viper venom affects the entire body as it spreads through the bloodstream. In addition to changing the composition of the blood, it causes severe damage to the tissues of the liver, spleen, and kidneys. The kidneys usually remove the poisonous substances from the blood directly into the urine and then naturally into the toilet. They also try to remove the snake venom, but in this case their tissues partially die off. If viper venom enters the digestive system, there is severe inflammation and hemorrhages, but the venom itself is destroyed by the digestive juices and bile. Now Tony is feeling drowsy and is semi-conscious. He may suffer from nausea, vomiting, and even convulsions. His heart rate increases, but the heart itself becomes weaker, the body becomes cold, and Tony has trouble breathing. Death comes from respiratory failure within 12 hours to 8 days if no antidote is administered. However, not always a viper bite leads to death. Sometimes the body can cope with the poison itself and the person recovers. That's exactly what happened to Tony. The heart starts functioning better, the body warms up, and the swelling goes down. But the damage caused by the poison of the viper was so strong that Tony may feel weak for a few months. And it is even possible that the disease will return and become chronic. That is, weakness and poor heart and lung function may remain forever. But Tony is a strong boy and is rapidly recovering. I think Tony is ready for us to try the second kind of snake venom. By the way, it is abundant in the most famous snake, the cobra. Let's see what we have here. There is no swelling at the bite site, no pain either, but Tony feels tired and faints. Breathing and heartbeat become labored. Such poison can cause death in just a few hours if nothing is done. The fact is that cobra venom affects exclusively on the nervous system, so it does not produce any local effects. The main active agent of cobra venom is a neurotoxin that affects the respiratory center, causing suffocation. However, even such a bite may not be fatal. The body is able to cope on its own if a small amount of venom enters the body. But it is better to get help from specialists and receive competent treatment. You can recover much faster from a cobra bite than from a viper bite, because if the body has withstood the effects of the poison, it is easily removed by the kidneys without damage to the tissues and blood, whether we're talking about a person or an animal. The main thing is to drink plenty of fluids and go to the toilet. Attention everyone, you're about to see some life hacks that we don't recommend you to try. They were invented by internet weirdos, so we're gonna let Tony try them, and you will see what you are never supposed to do. Let's start. If you want to quench your thirst with a cold drink but you have no ice left, no problem. Grab some frozen veggies from the freezer and place them in your glass. Your drink will be cold and it will have a very peculiar taste. If you don't have time for anything in the morning and you are constantly late for school, here is a trick that can save you some time. You can combine brushing your teeth and breakfast by spreading toothpaste on bread. By the way, here's another trick to save a lot of time in the morning. Often, when you take your shirt out of the closet, it's all wrinkled. You have to waste your time ironing it. But there is a solution. You just have to get fat. Any wrinkled shirt will stretch properly on a fat body, and nobody will see the difference. Brilliant, isn't it? Okay, you are finally at school. The class is about to start, but you're so sleepy you can hardly stay awake. Why can't the teacher be a little nicer to those who spend all night playing the new video game that was just released? Relax, you just need to print out the images of two eyes on a color printer, cut them out and take them with you. Now stick them on your eyelids and sleep all you want. Everyone will think that you are listening carefully to what the teacher tells you. Just try not to give yourself away or you could be punished immediately. Now a tip to keep your sandwich warm until you are ready to eat it. Just put it on your laptop's AC adapter and you don't need a microwave. And if you have a desktop computer, you can place the sandwich inside, somewhere close to the radiators. And now a tip for home safety. If you don't have any fire alarms, take a sealed pack of microwavable popcorn and hang it on the wall. Now, if there is a fire, the kernels inside the pack will heat up, start to burst and pop loudly. That sound will surely wake up everyone in the house. Here's a classic life hack for those who don't have wireless headphones but wish they did. Just take your headphones and cut the wires with a pair of scissors. Voila! Now you have a pair of cool wireless headphones. Now no new fancy tracks will distract you from listening to your personal music inside your head. Speaking of technology, not everybody has smartphones with huge screens to comfortably watch their favorite show. However, you shouldn't get upset. Just take your phone and dip it into a glass of water. Thanks to the optical features of water and the glass itself, the screen of your smartphone will increase several times, and you will be able to see every wrinkle on the face of your favorite character. And now a tip for those who sometimes feel lonely. Take a rubber glove, fill it with warm water, and tie it. Now put a good romantic movie and take the glove in your hand. Now you will feel like you're holding hands with your significant other while watching a movie. By the way, there is an awesome tip that will allow you to attract the attention of a really cool girl. Let's say that you really like her, but she never notices you. It's simple. You need to borrow a fairly large amount of money from her and not give it back for a long time. I assure you, from now on, she will think about you all day long. She'll call and come to your house. All that remains is to enjoy her attention. By the way, this method can also be used by girls who want to be noticed by the cutest guy in the neighborhood. And here's another tip to get the attention of another person. It goes like this. You need to put a few drops of lemon juice in your eyes, and then your gaze will be more expressive and seductive. Whoa, hold on. Tony, we won't try this life hack, and you guys shouldn't try it. Lemon juice is pure acid. Once in contact with your eyes, it instantly burns the eye mucosa. Not only is it very painful, but it's also dangerous. No, there may be some people who might be interested in blood red and weeping eyes, but we don't really know any. What should you do if you fall through ice? How can you survive if you are in a falling elevator or a drowning car? Today, Tony and I are gonna give you some tips that could potentially save your life. Pay attention and try to remember it all. So, you somehow ended up in ice water. As in all emergency situations, you shouldn't panic. In approximately 10 minutes, your muscles will become numb, and after 1 hour, you'll pass out, so you have to act fast. First, hold your breath, get out to the surface, and look for the shore. The ice will be thicker there. Now, place both hands on the ice and use your legs to put yourself in a horizontal position. Now slowly climb onto the ice. You have to start crawling to the shore, but you shouldn't get up, because when you lie on the ice, there are less chances it will crack again. Once on the shore, go to a warm place, change your clothes, and drink some hot tea. But if you feel too bad, don't wait and call an ambulance. Moving on, now you're in a drowning car. First, you should undo your safety belt and open or break the window. If you manage to do it, get out of the car as soon as possible. If you didn't manage to escape through the window, you'll have to wait until the car gets filled with water. Only then, the pressure outside and inside will be the same and you'll be able to open the door. This could be risky because the car could end up all the way on the bottom. But remember that the air bubbles will show you the way to the surface. Moving on, you're now in an elevator and you feel that it's falling down. What should you do? Many people believe that you should jump right before the lift hits the ground. Nevertheless, that's not an easy task because it's almost impossible to guess when it's gonna happen. So, physics have another solution for you. You should lay down on your back and try to expand the impact area. The impact force will spread across the surface and you'll have more chances of surviving. but remember to place one hand under your head to protect it from the impact, and another hand on your face to block any debris. But to be honest, Tony and I don't really believe in this theory. We believe that it won't help you survive in a falling elevator. Nevertheless, we have a whole video on this subject, in which we tell you why the chances of an elevator fall are minimal and what you should really do if you happen to end up living it. Tony, it's been a long time since we made fun of your friend. He looks too relaxed. Let's try some new and interesting pranks on him. Dear viewer, watch carefully and then try it on your friends too. It'll be fun. Tony and I promise. Let's go. Let's start with a classic, Mentos and Coke. There are several ways to trick your friends with these items. So, take a string and needle and thread it through a mint. Now place it on top of an open bottle of Coca-Cola. Close the lid so that it pinches the ends of the string, while the candy is left hanging under the lid so that it can't be seen. All that remains is to cut the protruding edges of the string and offer your friend a nice cold drink. When they open the lid, the string will no longer be pressed and the Mentos will splash spectacularly in the Coke. Remember to stand back so you won't get splashed by a fountain of sweet soda or suffer your friend's fists of rage. Well, let's keep having fun with Coke and Mentos. There's another original way to plant Mentos in a Coke. We need to pour water into an ice mold and put it in the freezer for about half an hour. After that, we take it out. The water is not yet frozen, but is already covered with an ice crust. Carefully break a hole in the ice and put a mint inside each ice cube. Then put it back in the freezer. Now you can turn on the super freezing mode, if your fridge has one. The goal is to keep the mint from melting in the water before it's completely frozen. If you do everything right, the ice in your friend's soda glass will melt slowly, and when the drink reaches our little surprise, a violent reaction will begin, which will leave your friend speechless. Now here's another prank. Take a piece of gum with a liquid center. Now take some food dye and pour it into a syringe. Any idea where I'm going with this? Carefully pierce the package and the gum itself to fill the core with dye. Now wait until your friend asks you for a piece of gum. The prank will be even funnier if you do not tell them about it. Let your friend walk around with colored teeth for a while. Moving on, if your friend is going somewhere for a few days and you have access to their computer, it's time to have some fun. Take their keyboard and remove all the keys. Carefully put damp tissues between the keys and drop seeds of some fast-growing grass on top. Now put all the keys back. In a couple of days when your friend returns, they will discover to their surprise that their favorite keyboard has turned into a flower bed. Well, I think it turned out very pretty. And why is he so annoyed? Well, especially for such angry people, we have a more serious joke. Take your friend's phone and rename all their contacts to secret or unknown number. Yeah, they will have to spend days recovering all the names. And now a prank for people who like potato chips. You know, the ones that come in solid, cylinder-shaped packages. You must have seen them. So here's what we're gonna do. Carefully cut off the bottom of the tube, cover it with a piece of paper, turn it over, put it on the highest shelf, and take out the paper. Now if your friend wants to crunch on some chips, they will get caught in a potato ring. It's time to go outside for some fresh air. But first we have to get ready. Everyone has a bench near their house where people like to relax, right? So, we paint our clothes with stripes matching the color of the bench in advance and go out. You have to sit down with your friends, stay there for a while, and then stand up so that you can see that your back is now covered in paint. This is where the shock comes in. Your friends will think they've been sitting on a freshly painted bench the whole time. By the way, it's even funnier to actually paint the bench and not put up any warnings. But if you get caught, you'll be prosecuted for defacing expensive clothing. The next prank is perfect for school. You have to sit in the back of the classroom and write a note that reads, "There's a sock hanging from the ceiling. Pass it on." The note is then sent around the classroom. Everyone who gets the note will look at the ceiling with amazement, then laugh, realizing that it is a prank, and pass it on. The climax of the prank will be when the teacher takes the note away from someone, reads it, and looks up at the ceiling trying to find the sock. We can guarantee everyone in the class will laugh. And the last joke is the funniest. It's perfect for those who like to get together in a large group and play different games. For example, charades, when the player must act out a word only using gestures. Before you start, you have to choose a victim and explain your idea to everyone else. You have to tell everyone in advance that our subject will be given a certain word. For example, window. And when that person comes out to act it out, no one should say the word. Say anything you want: pen, glass, nature, landscape, door, and so on. Believe me, it will be very funny to watch your friend try to explain a very obvious word that no one seems to guess. 5, 10, or 15 minutes later, they will get more and more nervous, and you'll be laughing your head off. Tony, do you need to go to the toilet? Hang on, we have an experiment to make. I have a great idea. Let's see how much can a person hold their pee before their bladder explodes. And you'll help us with that, Tony. Let's go. First, we have to say that the bladder has a volume of 200 to 400 milliliters, less than a half-liter bottle. But the need to go to the toilet doesn't appear right after you drink water. First, the liquid passes through the stomach and the intestinal tract. It is absorbed by the blood and passes through to the kidneys. It is there where it becomes pee and ends up in the bladder. You'll first feel the urge to go to the toilet when your bladder fills up to 60% of its capacity. So, a person who drinks 2 liters of water a day will visit the toilet from 4 to 6 times. If you end up going more than 10 times, you probably have some bladder problems and should see a doctor. How are you holding up, Tony? You know, an adult can hold their pee for up to 6 hours. After that, the bladder will explode and there will be pieces of you all around. Just kidding. Our body is truly advanced, so if your bladder cannot hold any more pee, the brain will send a signal and force you to relax and experience a very embarrassing situation. If this happens too often, you'll have problems holding your pee constantly. This is known as urinary incontinence. But in the worst cases, your bladder can definitely explode. For example, if you hold your pee for long and a friend accidentally pats you on the stomach too hard, the unexpected stress can make your bladder burst. Your bladder will end up with a hole and your urine will enter the abdominal cavity. This can be very dangerous and you'll end up in the operating table right away. Without proper help, a situation like that can end up with the person's death. Overall, friends, an exploding bladder is not the only cause for concern. The thing is that pee holds toxic elements and your body wants to get rid of them. So, when you hold your pee, these elements can pass through the walls of the bladder and enter your blood flow again. So, if you go to the toilet as soon as you feel the need, you'll be making your body a favor. So Tony, no more suffering. Run to the toilet. On your marks, ready, go! Oh boy, aren't you ashamed of yourself? You wet your pants right in front of our viewers. Tony, what if I told you there are animals that can live after death? And some of them can even attack you and kill you. That's right, the world is full of surprises. Well, let's start. First, we have snakes. Some species can easily kill you after their heads have been ripped off. So, in 2016, a firefighter and his family were on vacation in the countryside. He saw a rattlesnake and cut off its head. He wanted to throw it away, but suddenly the severed head bit him in the hand and injected poison in his body. The man took a few steps, felt his tongue and throat swelling, and fell unconscious. Fortunately, the rescue team got there on time and he was saved. But this chef from China was less fortunate. One day, he was making a very special dish using the meat of a ring-called cobra. It is considered a delicacy in the East. The chef wanted to throw away the severed head when it suddenly bit him and injected him with deadly poison. The cook died before the ambulance arrived. Next on our list is the octopus. In some countries, octopus tentacles are considered a delicacy, but the fact is, the tentacles aren't controlled by the brain. Thus, while you are eating them, they can move, stick to the inner walls of the esophagus, and block the access of air through the throat. Several people have died because of this. Next on our list, a close relative of the octopus, the squid. There's a dish with a squid on top that sits there quietly, until you start pouring soy sauce on it. Then, it starts to twitch its tentacles like crazy, even though it's not alive. The secret is that the sodium in the sauce reacts with the squid cells. This releases free ions that tickle the nerve endings of the tentacles, causing the squid to dance. And finally, a fun fact. A turtle's heart can beat for many hours after it's been ripped out. The secret is that their heart has its own supply of essential substances, and it won't stop until it's all gone. Tony, quickly, to the time machine. Today, we're gonna travel 8 million years back in time. We are in the waters near Peru. This is a dwarf baleen whale known as piscobalena. It is swimming peacefully, while eating plankton by filtering water with its mouth. But it doesn't know that it has become the target of the king of the seas, at least back then. We're talking about the giant 18-meter-long shark known as Megalodon. In just 1 second, the small whale becomes the lunch of this predator. The Megalodon lived all over the place, and it was the boss of the ocean and the most important sea predator for 10 million years, until it went extinct 3 million years ago. But how did the scariest sea creature in history disappear? Maybe they are still living somewhere, hiding from us, curious people. We're gonna study this question and tell you everything you need to know. Let's go! We know that its impressive size made the Megalodon a mighty creature, but it was also one of the reasons for its extinction. It all began 60 million years ago. The tectonic plates started to move, creating big mountains in North America and Asia. The weathering of mountains sent huge amounts of nutrients into the ocean. This made coastal waters the perfect environment for algae. They got bigger, as well as the animals eating them. Thanks to this, all creatures in the food chain started to get bigger, including sea mammals. Whales, dolphins, and seals have great amounts of fat in their bodies, which makes them a very nutritious and healthy snack for any predator. So, along with sea mammals, sharks also started to grow. In the span of 20 million years, they grew twice in size. Megalodon's teeth were found in the ribs of many unidentified types of whales, as well as pinnipeds the size of sea lions. So, getting bigger was a perfect tactic for these giant sharks, until things started to change. This happened approximately 5 million years ago, when the Earth's climate started to change. The air's average temperature went down, which led to the formation of new glaciers. The level of the oceans also went down, and many shallow, warm seas disappeared, and those were the favorite living place of giant sharks. The currents also changed and the oceans got colder. This didn't affect the Megalodon straight away, but it did have an impact on its food. Whales and other big mammals had a better blood circulatory system, and they could easily eat in colder waters. And so they did, leaving their enemy in the warmer waters. So, the Megalodon started running out of food. This was the first reason of their extinction. The next problem was the appearance of the first toothed whales, the ancestors of modern killer whales. They lived in groups and were more intelligent than other whales. They could swim and move better than Megalodons, who were bigger and had a slower metabolism. So, the giant shark had problems competing with these new, more advanced predators, and starvation became a problem. Moreover, these toothed whales could hunt in groups of up to 10, so sometimes they attacked Megalodons and could defeat even adult specimens, not to mention baby sharks. Long story short, the king of the seas wasn't at the top of the food chain anymore. Every year, there were fewer giant sharks until they disappeared completely about 2 million years ago. That is the sad story of the most unique and dangerous sea predator in Earth's history. Tony, let's go back to our time, before you go extinct in this old, dangerous world. Although that would be interesting. I could go back to the 21st century, dig you up, and become famous as the first person that found the remains of the first drawn person in history. Everyone would talk about you and think that you were too dumb and so you went extinct. Bazinga! Okay, I'm kidding, let's go back home. By the way, some fishermen have supposedly seen creatures resembling the Megalodon at the bottom of the sea. According to many, Megalodons are still around, but they hide from us. But real scientists laugh at those people who believe in such rumors, because the Megalodon simply couldn't live in our world. Or could it? Folks, get ready to be scared and prepare to panic, because we're once again in the Trevor Henderson universe. Today, we're gonna meet the famous long horse, and we're gonna tell you everything we know about it. Let's go! As you can see, long horse is a creature with a horse skull and no jaw. Its head is connected to an endlessly long neck. It has a few strands of black hair on its neck and head. By the way, the horse's neck makes a distinctive cracking noise when it bends, and no one has ever seen the horse's body itself, so there could be two possibilities. Either there is a body, but it is located someplace far away from the head, or there is no body at all, and the creature is more like an endless snake with a horse's head. Now let's talk about its origins. On August 24th, 2018, Trevor Henderson posted the very first photo of Long Horse. Later, he posted another photo, somewhere in the suburbs. It was under this photo that Trevor wrote the caption, Long Horse, thereby giving the creature its name. An ancient cave painting of a long horse and three men has also been found, suggesting that it has been around since ancient times. Interestingly, despite its intimidating appearance, it is completely harmless to humans. The long horse can predict disasters and teleport. It uses its abilities to warn people of disasters. It is able to break the law of physics, can defy gravity, and apparently levitate. It can twist its body and change the number of joints in its neck. Thanks to its properties, its neck doesn't have to connect in linear space. Trevor Henderson himself said that Long Horse is very curious by nature. It is friendly, smells like cinnamon, and its skin resembles wax. In addition, it loves attention and all sorts of treats, like apples. By the way, on top of all that, it has the ability to penetrate people's dreams, but only to warn them of an impending disaster. But beware, friends, rumor has it that in addition to the good long horse, there is also an evil version. You should never mix them up under any circumstances. The evil long horse is red, has eyes and a lower jaw. It is able to appear and disappear quickly and also traps and attacks its victims. Today, we will meet a formidable and mysterious giant known as Day 17. Yes, we are reading all of your comments and we saw that many of you are curious about this giant. Give us a like if you've been waiting for this video. Ooh, here comes our giant monster. Let's start. As I said, this is one of the giants in the Trevor Henderson universe. It moves on four legs and has a huge, long neck, which is usually hidden in the clouds along with its head. Tentacles hang from it right down to the ground. With them, Day 17 can take people straight to the sky. No one knows what happens to the giant's victims there. After analyzing this picture of the monster, we can conclude that it is about 11 kilometers high. In addition, it is known that Day 17 is a storm creature, because its appearance is always followed by storms, hurricanes, strong winds, rain, and lightning. Generally speaking, this gigantic creature is capable of causing enormous damage, or even destroying an entire world. It has the ability to manipulate reality and people's faith, and the laws of physics simply don't affect it. The monster's skin is incredibly thick and strong, so no weapon in existence is capable of harming it. They say that only a doomsday device can destroy this giant. It is a hypothetical device, capable of destroying all life on Earth or even Earth itself at once. Therefore, because of its abilities, Day 17 is considered one of Trevor Henderson's most powerful giants. But is it as dangerous as it looks? Did you know, for example, that the creature's real name is the Wandering Faith? And there is an explanation for that. There is a theory that with its tentacles, the giant takes people of faith to heaven and gives them eternal life in paradise in gratitude for their faith in God. So, according to this theory, Day 17 is a harmless creature of divine origin. However, another version claims that the monster, on the contrary, takes lost souls, after which eternal torment awaits them. A third theory denies any divine origin and states that Day 17 doesn't take people to heaven with its tentacles, but simply eats them. We don't know the truth because no one has yet returned from above. Even Trevor himself said that the goals of all his giants remain beyond our understanding. And also, he mentioned that there is a separate universe in which all the giants live. It is in another dimension. So, Their appearance in our world is the consequence of some anomaly and the intersection of different dimensions. But to get at least some sense of the truth and to understand what exactly Day 17 does, I will tell you an ancient legend. Hear it, and you can then decide for yourselves what to believe. One day, an unusual storm raged over a small town, and soon afterwards, the inhabitants saw a giant creature standing near their town, its head hidden behind thunderclouds. The authorities decided to urgently evacuate the city, and soon there was no one left. Only one person remained. It was a mad priest who roamed the deserted streets shouting that God himself had chosen them to ascend to heaven, and that the giant was not a monster, but God's assistant, who would grant all believers unprecedented blessings. Of course, there was no one left to listen to the ravings of the lunatic. Several months passed, and the monster remained motionless near the town. Then it was decided that it was harmless, and all the residents returned to their homes. As the months passed, the town continued with its life as before. People got used to the constant presence of the motionless monster and didn't even notice it. But one day, the weather turned bad again and a hurricane came. The creature moved and lowered its giant tentacles to the ground. The first person it grabbed was the mad priest. The monster caught the priest with its tentacles and raised him up to the sky, while he laughed and shouted that he had been chosen by God himself. That was the last time anyone saw him. Now friends, decide for yourselves what to believe. Was the priest eaten, or did he find eternal peace in heaven? We're going back to Trevor Henderson universe to meet the biggest, baddest giant of them all, and its name is Behemoth. Let's go! First, take a look at the original drawing made by Trevor Henderson himself. Only the creature's head is visible here, although we can clearly see that it is as tall as the whole mountain from which it is bursting out. As you see, the monster looks like some sort of reptile. By the way, it was Trevor's fans who named the giant. Perhaps by analogy with the mythological Behemoth from the Bible, which is the demon of gluttony. The creator himself did not name his creation, because Behemoth first appeared along with images of other giants about 2 years ago. Trevor's picture doesn't show what the monster's body looks like, but based on the fact that its head looks like an iguana's head, its body is most likely similar. This is confirmed by the spikes along its spine, which most likely extend all the way to its tail. By the way, for some reason, everyone is sure that Behemoth has long limbs, and that's exactly how its image has spread all over the internet. However, Tony and I believe that it spends most of its time underground, as the image shows chunks of Earth bursting out along with the giant itself when it broke through the Earth's crust from below. Plus, we can see its deep black eyes with no visible retina, which means it most likely sees almost nothing, like moles, which is another confirmation of this theory. But if it looked like that, Behemoth would not be able to move nimbly under the ground, so it is more likely that it has short legs with sharp claws like lizards and a small tail. Friends, tell us in the comments what you think the body of this giant looks like. We'll like to hear your thoughts. Now let's talk about the dangers this giant can pose. Its enormous size and sharp teeth make it the most dangerous creature Trevor has ever created. Its head alone is larger than the tallest mountain on Earth, and according to some reports, it could be 800 kilometers long. So it could cover the whole of the UK or Italy with its body. But this is just a guess. In fact, Behemoth could be even larger. Even if it is calm, it could destroy an entire metropolis just by walking, causing an earthquake or simply crushing it. On top of that, it has a mighty roar. This giant is able to destroy buildings with it, and a person can not only go deaf, but also receive severe damage to their internal organs. But the main threat are its giant and powerful jaws, which can rip out a huge piece of land, taking thousands of people at a time. Not in vain, Behemoth is one of the destruction giants, because if it wants to, it could even destroy our whole planet. Imagine what will happen if it makes thousands of huge tunnels, releasing magma to the surface and destroying all life on Earth. Not to mention the fact that it could cause powerful earthquakes and giant tsunamis. On top of all this, Behemoth has strong scales like a lizard, and given its size, most conventional weapons won't damage it at all. Perhaps a nuclear warhead would do the trick, but in addition to destroying the giant, it would destroy all life within a radius of about 100 kilometers around. By the way, according to one theory, unlike other giants, Behemoth is able to produce offspring because it is an animal-like monster. Like other reptiles, it lays eggs, only these can be up to 10 kilometers in diameter. By the way, Behemoth is probably a she. Yes, most likely the giant is a female. The thing about lizards is that only males are brightly colored, and since our giant has a rather pale skin, this could mean it's a girl, although this is only a guess. Oh friends, I almost forgot. Tony has a cool new friend, Senya, from the Senya OMG channel. She puts popular theories to the test and proves that game characters are actually monsters. And she has shown us the truth. In the first video about the game, My Talking Angela, something supernatural and very creepy happened. Angela herself spoke to her. Tony and I have already watched this video and were shocked by what happened. And she plans to make new videos about Siren Head, Cartoon Cat, and other Trevor Henderson monsters. So, hurry up and subscribe to her channel and turn on your notifications to be the first to see her experiments, which she posts all the time. The link is in the description and on the screen at the end of our video. Now, let's get back to Behemoth. By the way, according to another theory, Behemoth is the ruler of all giants, and judging by its look and its huge and sharp fangs, we can conclude that it is a carnivore. And what could a giant, who is at the very top of the food chain among all Trevor's creatures, feed on? Other giants, of course. For example, its diet definitely includes such titans as Day 17, Day 18, and several others. Well, to be honest, it's not much of a leader if it devours its own underlings. Friends, I'd like to point out that almost everything we've told you about Behemoth is based on rumors and various fan theories. Behemoth is one of the most mysterious giant creatures Trevor has ever created, due to the lack of information about it. The artist himself never revealed any details about it. Perhaps he wanted to stir the imagination of his fans and provoke a lot of different arguments and discussions. I think his plan worked. What do you think of this giant? What interesting theories do you have? Tell us in the comments and the best answers will be featured in our next episode. Well, give us a like and subscribe so you won't miss the new episodes of Super Tony. Bye-bye!